I'm Alex with Storyline Travel, and today we're going to talk about the first visit to Walt Disney World. Stay tuned for tips and tricks. Congratulations, you've decided to go to Disney World. Or it's been a long time since you've been, so it feels like a first-time trip. Today we're going to talk about what it's like to go on your first trip to Disney World and some tips and tricks for how do you get the most out of such a wonderful vacation. First, Walt Disney World Resort Complex is huge. It's the size of a major city. And you need to be prepared for that. It's not like the amusement park you have at home. I remember growing up going to a Six Flags park, and it was definitely a day, maybe even half a day park, depending on what you wanted to get done. It was all about the thrill of the rides and maybe buying a souvenir or two. So when we went on our first trip to Walt Disney World, that was the mindset we had. That was the expectation. The first time I walked into Magic Kingdom, I was blown away. It was huge in comparison to what I was used to as an amusement park. And as a theme park, it was more than just rides. It was an all immersive experience. Really enjoyed all of the sights, the sounds, the smells. It really speaks to all your senses the whole time you're there. And it truly is a theme park. Every piece of Magic Kingdom I'd walked through, it was themed to that way, whether it was Tomorrowland and the future and those activities, or Frontierland, and you felt like you stepped back in time to the Wild Wild West. It was quite an adventure. But because of that, we learned, and our tip number 2 is you got to plan when you go. I know it seems like it would be a lot of fun to be spontaneous, but I know of a few people who had absolutely miserable vacations after spending a week at Walt Disney World because they went with no plans. And as soon as they walked into a park, they were overwhelmed by all the options. They stood in the wrong line that took such a long time, and they really just didn't enjoy themselves when it was all said and done. A little planning on your first visit can make that a big difference. So, what's some things to plan? First of all, I highly suggest that you download the My Disney Experience app. It's good about giving you some tips on what's going on when you're going to arrive, but it also allows you, while you're in the park, to give you an idea of wait times. You see, even the most fun attractions and the ones that everyone wants to ride, whether it be Space Mountain at Magic Kingdom, Soarin' around the world in Epcot, these attractions have times when it might be an hour or two wait, or it might only be 30 minutes or less. The My Disney Experience app will give you those wait times and give you an idea of when it's a good time to go and see those attractions. And as it relates to planning and attractions, because it's so large, it's really a good idea to get with your family and figure out, what does each person want to ride? Pick your top 2 or 3 and consider success if you've done those attractions. You're not going to be able to do everything unless, well, I guess you take a month to go spend at Walt Disney World. And I would be willing to say, even with a month, there might be something you might not get to. There's a lot of things to do and a lot of activities, and to really have a successful trip, plan the top 2 or 3 things, and I think you'll find it'll be a lot more fun. Speaking of going to the parks, you might want to consider skipping the first day going to the parks, especially if you arrive late. Anytime if your flight or if you drive in and you arrive after 3 or 4 in the afternoon, it might be a good idea to just take that night to relax, to unwind, to get ready for your vacation, and start your park touring, visiting the parks on the next day when you're fresh and you're ready to go. We found that that nice relaxing evening is a great time maybe to grab a bite, explore a resort, and see what fun things are going around. And so save yourself a little bit of money. Don't necessarily have tickets for that first day. Again, it's up to you, but after about 3 or 4 in the afternoon, there's really not a lot of time to do more than 1 or 2 attractions. Once you get checked in, settled, get to the park, get inside, find the attraction you want to ride and stand in line. Something to consider. Another recommendation is not to include the park hopper. On your first visit, Disney World can be exhilarating and fun, and you think, I just want to do it all. We recommend that you spend 1 day at one park. That way you get a chance to explore everything that you want to do. If a ride goes down, you have time for that to come back up. And honestly, the parks are laid out where there's some distance. Just going park to park can take anywhere from one gate to the next 20, 30 minutes, depending on what's going on at the time. It could even be up to an hour. And so that's valuable time that you're spending sitting on a bus or monorail or on a boat waiting to get into a park instead of riding an attraction, seeing a show, and enjoying the parks themselves. So on that first visit, just plan on being in one park a day at a time, and I think you'll really enjoy that. Finally, I also think it's great to take a midday break, especially if you're traveling with younger ones. These midday breaks really help re-energize you in getting you to the end. Florida can be hot even in the winter times. There's an overload of senses. As soon as you walk into a park, you get the sights. There's all kinds of movement and bright lights and colors. There's sounds, there's music playing, you hear the crowd of the people, there's laughing, there's talking, the smells, the popcorn, the churros, all these wonderful aromas. And even just being in a crowded place, if you're going at really popular times, you might get jostled a bit, and so the touch of other people around you. That sensory overload can really get you and it wears you down. And we've found that if you take a midday break, go back to the resort, rest, get out of all the sensory overload and recharge. Maybe let the kids take a nap or a dip in the pool, and then come back. You're ready for the evening activities, especially the fireworks, and your little ones will really thank you for it. I've had several clients who weren't really sure about the midday break, but they tried it at our recommendation, who've come back and said that was the best advice they got. They really got more out of their vacation because they took that midday break. So our recommendation is, especially on your first visit, take a break around 3 or 4. By the way, Florida is known for having little rain showers around that time anyway. Take that break, get some rest, come back for the evening activities. You'll really love it. I mentioned the resort and checking in, but I want to spend a few minutes, and tip number 3 is, on your first visit, stay on site, stay in what we like to call, in our family, the Disney bubble. When you stay at a resort, it's more than a hotel. They're themed to different areas, so you might want to stay at All-Star Movie and see the theme for Dalmatians or Cars. Or a moderate resort like the Caribbean Beach that's themed after the Caribbean islands, Jamaica, Barbados. Or a deluxe resort like the Polynesian that is themed after the islands of Polynesia. These resorts are fantastic. And by the way, check in with what activities are going on at the resort. Sometimes there are movies in the evening that you may, or your kids may want to watch. The pools, they're not just a square hole with water. They're themed, and there's lots of slides and fun activities. And many times the lifeguards will really engage with little activities and music at the pool. So it can be a lot of fun. So look at this as more than just a place to lay your head. Even if that's what you want to do, it's really special to see the Disney theme parks. The Disney resorts and how they're themed. In addition, you get advantage of the Disney transportation. So while some of the Good Neighbor hotels do provide shuttles, those shuttles aren't very often, and they usually hit all of the parks in one trip. versus the Disney transportation that when you're staying at a resort, when you get on their bus for Magic Kingdom, it's only going to go to Magic Kingdom. And so there's much quicker turnaround. Those buses run approximately every 20 minutes. Again, you've got that My Disney Experience app, or at the resort bus stop itself. Normally there's a posted time on when the next bus will be there to arrive and take you to your destination. So you spend less time waiting to get into the parks if you stay on site. So as you're planning in consideration, we think a Disney resort is a great place to stay. When you check in, whether you are staying at a Disney resort or you've decided to stay at a good neighbor hotel and you're getting to the park that first time, be sure to get a button that says, "It's my first visit." One, it's really fun to just have that button to commemorate your time there. And when you get pictures and you've got that button, when you get home and it gives you some real big smiles on your face. But many times, cast members and sometimes even guests like ourselves who feel like we've been going forever will say hi and, "Hey, good job on that first vacation and we're glad you're here." It's fun to get that recognition that first time. And as again, the buttons are free. They're a great keepsake, a great souvenir to have once you get home. If you stay at the resort, the concierge desk or the front desk, they have the buttons there. You can get them. If you are staying off-site and you're just going into the park, stop by the guest relations at the front of each park, and they usually will have a first visit button for you. We highly recommend you get them. Now, let's talk about the theme parks. Disney instituted recently the concept of a park reservation, that the day that you're going to go to Magic Kingdom, you need to go into the My Disney Experience app or on the Walt Disney World website and register for that day to make sure your family and your tickets will work, that you're going to go to that park. Reserves your spot, if you will, to go into the park. It's good to make that reservation as far in advance as you can, so it kind of goes to the planning. But also, I want you to take a look at the park hours. There are times when Disney will have extra events. Sometimes they're private events. That's actually quite rare, but it does happen. More often what it is an extra ticketed event. And that means that park's going to close a little earlier. I'll tell you about a time when my family and I decided to do one of these extra ticketed events, and as we were coming into a park, we saw a very upset first-time visitor. You see, they had slept in that morning and decided to get to Magic Kingdom afternoon, and the park was going to close at 7 o'clock for a special ticketed event. So literally they had only gotten to spend 6 or 7 hours in the park, only rode just a few rides. If they'd taken this tip and paid attention to the theme park hours, they would have seen that the park at Magic Kingdom was going to close early that day and selected a different park to tour, saving Magic Kingdom for a day that it would be open later. You know, for me, I think the saddest part about that person was they left without getting to see the fireworks at Cinderella's castle, because you see, on that day, the fireworks were done only at the special ticketed event, not for the folks that had to leave a bit early. So keep an eye on the park hours. Plan when you want to visit each park based on those opening hours, and you'll get to see the fireworks. You'll get to experience the fun things on your first visit that you really wanted to do. And hey, you'll look like an expert right off the bat. So you've been walking around the parks for a while and gotten to ride a few rides. You're really doing well, and you get hungry. It's time to talk about dining. One of the things that you'll notice at Disney World that's different from an amusement park is the variety of dining. It's not just hamburgers and hot dogs. There's all kinds of dining, from snacks, popcorn, cinnamon rolls, Mickey pretzels, all the way to signature fine dining. While you can get hamburgers and hot dogs at Disney World or in Magic Kingdom, you can also get fried seafood at Columbia Harbor House, or sit down for a meal with the princesses at Cinderella's royal table. So take a look at the dining. decide what your family wants to do. Do you want to grab something quick so you can keep going to the attractions? Or would you like to sit down and really enjoy a meal? So for any dining you want to do where you're going to sit down, reservations are almost required. They're definitely recommended, but in many cases required, because by the time you're in the park, those places may be full. Take a look before your trip. You've decided which park you want to go to. You've looked at those park hours and you've said, hey, you know what? When we go the Tuesday of our vacation, we're going to be in Magic Kingdom and I want to do something extra special on this trip. So let's go to be our guest. Go out, make a reservation, see what's available and reserve your time. Then when your time comes and you're in the parks, it's time to eat, you can go in, check in, and you get a table reserved for you. I will tell you that when we did our first visit as a family many years ago, I didn't know about the reservation experience. And honestly, I thought, again, Disney was going to be like any other amusement park. We tried to go to a few sit-down restaurants and just walk up, and honestly, we were turned away every time. We ended up eating burgers and hot dogs. So to just be aware, to maybe plus up your experience a little bit, take a look at some of those dining options. And if you do want to sit down and have a more luxurious meal, make those reservations before you go. And finally, our biggest tip for first-time travelers is any question you have, ask a cast member. Cast members are specially trained for your questions. They take time to listen to what you have to say, understand the question that you're asking, and give you excellent advice. They're highly trained. They really do make your vacation extra special. I have a soft spot in my heart for cast members. See, my oldest daughter got to spend time as a cast member at Disney World, and I got to see the training she went through. I got to hear about the questions, and one of her favorite things to do was to help a family enjoy their vacation that much more by answering a question and guiding them in a way that really made them enjoy their vacation. So no matter what your question, no matter how silly you think it is, ask a cast member. Cast members are there to answer your questions and make your vacation that much better. So congratulations again on booking that trip and going to Disney World. If you do have any questions, be sure to visit our site, our website. It's in the comment section below. And if you like these tips, hey, guess what? There's more coming, including some destination videos very soon. So subscribe. I hope you like this video. Give us that thumbs up and turn on the notifications so that when we post, you'll get notified that, hey, we have a new video out there. And at Storyline Travel, we believe every adventure is a story waiting to be told.